I just got this beautiful bottle in. I do enjoy Calumet 16, and so this 18-year-old 100th anniversary decanter release, is it worth the money? Well, there's only one way to find out. Let's go. Welcome back to Old Fashioned Ways Plus Plus. I'm Doc Martinez, and this here is a special bottle. Now, just look at this. Look how beautiful this is. It's a great box. Check out this great box. The bottle, that presentation. And the cool thing is, once I finish with this bottle, I'll be able to use it over and over. That's just looks. The question is, how good is the bourbon inside? Well, I'm gonna pop this open, pour some out, and let it breathe. So let's do that now. This is a nice, big, heavy bottle. Look at this huge cork. Let's see how this sounds. Not bad, not bad. Thought it was gonna be a little bit bigger, but here we go. Make sure to give myself a nice, good pour so I can taste this. But man, love the sound of that when you're doing that. Always love that sound. So let's just move this over to the side and let it breathe a minute. Introducing the Calumet Farm 18-year-old Trophy Decanter Limited Release, a distinguished bourbon crafted to commemorate Calumet Farm's centennial anniversary. Wow. But that's all the information you can find on this bottle. There's not more information online. Let's take a moment and just kind of look at this bottle, enjoy the tall and beautiful ribs. Look how tall this bottle is, and look at these beautiful ribs that it has. These gold labels are beautiful with embossed lettering. You can feel the lettering on your fingers. Love this one section here in the back, talking about Kentucky Derby winners, Preakness Stakes winners, and Triple Crown winners from their farm. It really is overall just a beautiful, beautiful bottle. But it's not always about the bottle, is it? As anytime I do a review, I will do a giveaway. So stay tuned to find out how you could possibly win a sample from this beautiful bottle. Enough talk, let's get into the bottle details. Bottle details, Calumet Farms, 18-year-old Trophy Decanter 100th anniversary. Classification, Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. Distillery, not known, but most likely Barton's. Release date is April 2025. Proof is 118 proof, making it 54% ABV. Age, 18 years. Finish, none stated. Mashbill, 74% corn, 18% rye, 8% malted barley. MSRP, $499. Anytime I do a review, I do a score on a 1 to 10 on aroma, flavors, complexity, mouthfeel, finish, and of course, would I buy again? All right, I'm back. I had to let this sit here for a little while, let it kind of open up and see. Let's see what it did. Let's kind of look at that. Nice, good amber color. It looks like something that's been aged for 18 years, so you get a nice red darkness. So that's a pretty color. I like the color on it. Let's see how it sticks. Sticking nicely to that glass, starting to form some tight legs right now. So good. That gives me some hope for some viscosity. All right, so I had to move everything to this side so I could have my book out so I can take my notes and put my scores down. Now, time for that fun part. Let's go in for that nose. Ooh, very, very sweet. Very actually fruity. I want to smell that again. Not too much alcohol on the nose. Sweet, fruity. Almost that first one gave me a hint of like blackberry. It's interesting. It reminds me a little bit of cognac. A little bit of cognac. A lot more sweetness. A little bit of spiciness that I'm getting there on that second part. So it comes from sweet to spicy to kind of a fruity note in the background. It's actually not a bad nose. I'm going to give that a 7.8. All right, flavors, initial taste. Let's taste that initial taste. So initial taste already, a little bit of spice comes out more than you do on the nose. A little bit of bitterness. But then it starts coming down. You have that cinnamon. You have a little bit of sweet caramel hint, very, very small hint of vanilla on the initial flavor. It was a little underwhelming for what I was expecting, especially for the nose and the darkness and the age. And I like Calumet. I like the stuff that they're doing. So it was a little bit surprising. So honestly, for initial taste, it was a little bit of a letdown. So I'm going to give that a 5.5 for my initial flavor. But let's go. Let's go in for complexity. Let's see. Does this evolve on the tongue? Does this change as I'm drinking it? So let's go in for that. Okay. A little bit better. Still a spicy note. Now you're going to do a little bit of more like a creaminess. There's a citrus flavor in the back of this for sure, like orange peel. There's a sweetness of a hint of caramel. Well, a little bit more than a hint, not quite caramel in your face, but you can taste like there's a caramel-esque kind of taste to it. And then you also have some vanilla. So that complexity did change a lot. It's not as, that first initial taste just was, I think I was expecting so much from it. It was a little bit of a letdown. But that complexity is a little bit better. So I'm going to give that complexity a 7. Mouthfeel, thickness, and viscosity. Let's see how this feels on the mouth. Oh, a little bit of that bitterness came back again on that one. It covers the tip, it covers the mid, it covers the back, it covers the top. Makes my mouth salivate. Very creamy, nice texture on the tongue. And then at the end, there's some tannic. So it's kind of a little bit drying. But for a mouthfeel, this feels like an 18-year-old whiskey going into your mouth with some nice viscosity on it. So for that mouthfeel, I'm going to actually give that an 8. Finish. How does it stay, and how does that, how do you feel with that taste that's left over in the mouth? So sometimes you just have to sit there and just really take it in. You still have that spice. You still have that orange. You still have like a nice creamy texture, creme brulee-esque, vanilla, light caramel, but that spicy stays through it. The finish is there with all that viscosity from the first drink to now. It stays there. Stays a little bit on the tip, more on the mid palate, a little bit in the back. You get a nice little hug. You get kind of, like a little bit of a dessert that's a little bit, more of a cinnamon clove kind of dessert, or that drink that you make, like that drink in the winter that you add the cloves and the cinnamon, all that, and you kind of to warm your body. I'm getting that warm with that spiciness. So for finish, it has a nice long finish, not over spice, some sweetness, goes through an evolution, and I like that. So I think I actually, with that finish, I'm going to give that a 7.8. Would I buy again? So let me go for a drink and then I'll give you what I'm thinking about that. Honestly, would I buy again? You know what? To answer that, I actually need to do something. I need to do something really quickly. All right. It took me a second to find my Calumet. Apparently, I finished my last one and have to open up this new one here. But that's probably better so that it's not a one that's been half empty and sitting there for a while. So I want to do this. I need to compare these two. Because right now, I'm not excited about this pour as excited as I was when I first started this. I was expecting something very special, especially from Calumet, especially for that price. So much more nose on this one. So much more cherry, so much more sweetness and chocolatiness on this. All right, let's go in for that. Yep, definitely. So would I buy again? No. $500 for this bottle. I'd rather pay $150 for this one multiple times and have this one day in, day out. This is such a better pour than this one is. I enjoyed this one a lot more than this one. Disappointed, let down. Beautiful bottle, beautiful decanter. I'm glad they have 100 years, but I expected something more from them with that, especially when you have something like this that sits on your shelf. That is just a great pour that I really enjoy. I haven't had it in a while, so that's why I had to go back and just taste it. So no, and I'm gonna give that a 4. Wow. So my total score for this is 40.1 out of 60. At that price, this should be in the high 40s, low 50s, closer to the 60 for that price on this bottle. Beautiful bottle. I think you're paying more for that. It's a decanter. I think you're paying more, and it's a beautiful decanter, nice, heavy. The bottle's beautiful. But I think you're paying more than that than what you're paying for the juice inside. This 16-year, much better pour, 150 day in, day out. Buy this one over this one. So there you go. After all that, let's talk about how you can win a sample of this. I'm sure you guys are curious out there. Is this really that different? I think a big part of it is just the disappointment I have from it because this is such a better bottle. So, but let's talk about how you can win a sample of this one. If you have not, please go hit that like button. It really helps me out. Also, make sure to subscribe. But YouTube loves when you share it. So if you can just share this with a friend or family, just share this with them. If they watch it, not great, but it just helps me out. Also in the comments below, let me know, have you tried any Calumet? And if so, what are your thoughts on it? What have you enjoyed? What has been your favorite? So far, my favorite from the Calumet is the 16, and I was excited for this one and a little bit let down today. Also in the comments, make sure to add hashtag Calumet100. Hashtag Calumet100. Well, my friends, thank you for joining me on another journey down my whiskey rabbit hole. To our next journey, my friends, cheers.